Have you ever witnessed a moment where arrogance was shattered in an instant, where someone who thought they were untouchable suddenly froze because of a truth they never expected? Stay with me till the end of this story, because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless, and if you love powerful life-changing stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe right now to the heartfelt story, where every tale touches the soul and reminds us of the power of kindness, humility, and unexpected twists of fate. Our story begins in a luxurious restaurant nestled in the heart of Berlin, a place where the wealthy gathered not just to dine but to flaunt their status, their cars parked outside like trophies, their conversations echoing entitlement, and their laughter often at the expense of those who served them. Among the waitstaff was a young woman named Clara, a humble waitress with kind eyes, soft golden hair tied neatly under her cap, and a smile that carried warmth even when her feet ached and her shift stretched long past midnight. She had taken the job not because she dreamed of serving food but because life had left her little choice. Her father's health had collapsed under the weight of years of factory work, and her younger brother's education needed funding if he were to escape the same cycle of hardship. Clara, though often exhausted, carried her burdens with grace, never showing her struggles to customers, offering politeness where others might show bitterness, because deep inside she believed that dignity was not in the clothes one wore but in how one treated others. On one particularly stormy evening, when rain lashed against the grand glass windows of the restaurant and the city outside seemed wrapped in shadows, a man entered who would change her life forever. He was tall, impeccably dressed in an Italian tailored suit, his shoes gleaming despite the wet streets, his presence commanding the attention of everyone as if he owned not just the room but the world itself. This was Victor Reinhardt, one of Germany's most powerful millionaires, known for his empire of real estate, for his ruthless negotiations, and for his cold disregard for anyone who stood beneath his level of wealth. People whispered about him, about his arrogance, about the trail of people he humiliated, and yet they admired him too, because power has a way of drawing admiration even when it should not. Victor entered that restaurant with a swagger, his eyes scanning the menu with disinterest before they landed on Clara, who approached his table with her usual gentle smile. "Good evening, sir," she said softly, "welcome. May I take your order?" Victor looked her up and down, and then, switching to German as if to exclude her from his disdain, he muttered under his breath words that sliced sharper than a knife. "Ein armselig Kellnerin, die nicht mal richtig sprechen kann. Wahrscheinlich ist es ie zu dumm für etwas anderes." A pitiful waitress who can't even speak properly. Probably too stupid for anything else. His voice was calm but laced with cruelty, loud enough that two nearby tables smirked, while others pretended not to hear. Clara's cheeks flushed with heat, her heart pounding, because though many assumed she was just another undereducated waitress, there was something Victor didn't know, something no one in that restaurant could have guessed. Clara had once been a student at one of Germany's top universities, studying linguistics and literature with a gift for languages so rare that professors predicted a brilliant future for her. She spoke not just German, but French, English, Italian, and even Russian, switching between them as effortlessly as breathing. She had dreams of becoming an interpreter for the European Union, but when her father collapsed and medical bills consumed every cent, she walked away from her future to carry trays in a restaurant, sacrificing her passion for her family. That night, as Victor's insult pierced her, Clara felt the weight of years of sacrifice pressing down, but instead of crumbling, she drew a slow breath, and with a calmness that stunned everyone, she responded in perfect, flawless German, her voice steady, her tone laced with quiet fire. "Wissen Sie, es ist leicht, jemanden zu beleidigen, wenn man glaubt, Geld sei alles. Aber war groß Zeit sich darin, wie man mit den Genigen umgeht, die einem nichts geben können." You know, it's easy to insult someone when you believe money is everything. But true greatness is shown in how you treat those who can give you nothing. The room fell silent. Every fork froze mid-air, every conversation paused, as people turned to watch the waitress who had just dared to speak to Victor Reinhardt in such a way. Victor blinked, his smug smile faltering, his hand tightening on the edge of the table. He had expected silence, submission, maybe tears, but not this. Not a waitress who could speak with the clarity and sharpness of someone who understood not only the German language but the weight of words themselves. For a fleeting second, something flickered in his eyes, anger, yes, but also something deeper, something unsettled. Clara bowed slightly, her dignity intact, and asked again in her soft voice, "May I take your order, sir?" as though nothing had happened. But inside, her heart was racing, because she knew she had crossed a line, one that could cost her job, her income, everything her family depended on. Yet she couldn't stop herself, because sometimes silence is heavier than words, and sometimes, one must risk everything to remind the arrogant of their humanity. Victor finally spoke, his tone sharp. "Bring me the steak. Medium rare." He didn't look at her again, his jaw tight, his pride wounded in front of an audience. Clara nodded and walked away, her legs trembling, her tray rattling slightly in her hand. At the kitchen doors, she leaned against the wall, closing her eyes, praying she hadn't just destroyed the fragile stability she had fought so hard to maintain. But what Clara didn't know, what no one in that restaurant yet realized, was that Victor Reinhardt would not forget her words. They would echo in his mind long after the plates were cleared, long after the storm outside subsided, gnawing at him in ways he couldn't understand. Because beneath his millions, beneath his arrogance, Victor carried secrets too. Scars from a childhood he never spoke of, a loneliness wealth could never erase, and a hunger for respect he never truly received. And Clara, with one simple truth spoken in flawless German, had touched a wound in him he thought was buried forever. The night ended with Victor leaving in silence, tossing a tip on the table that was neither generous nor insulting, just cold, mechanical. Clara finished her shift, walked home through the rain, and held her brother's textbooks close against her chest, telling herself that no insult could break her spirit as long as her family depended on her. But she didn't know that the events of that evening had only just begun to unfold, that Victor Reinhardt was not a man who let go of humiliation easily, and that her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. Stay with us, because Chapter 2 will reveal what happened when the millionaire who insulted a waitress found himself paralyzed. Not by anger, but by the shocking truth of who she really was, and how destiny would turn their worlds upside down. And before we continue, don't forget, if this story already has your heart beating, if you believe kindness and dignity are stronger than arrogance, hit that like button and subscribe now to the heartfelt story, so you never miss the moments that remind us what humanity truly means.